So I want to share with you 6 key principles of persuasion. Now you may think persuasion, is that ethical? Is that honest? And I'm going to talk to you about how you can use persuasion ethically in the 6 principles. And I'd love to say to you, I made this up and this is my proprietary system or anything. But it isn't. This is research that's been carried out by Dr. Robert Cialdini, a very notable professor, and they decided to study how different sales techniques and how persuasion works. How do you influence somebody to make a decision? So I'm going to walk you through what they found from their study and explain a little bit about how you can implement these persuasions in an ethical way. Now, I'm sure we've seen how these things can be misused in manipulating people, and that's selling something that isn't right for the customer, doesn't add any value, and uses tactics to convince people to buy. They can use the same 6 findings or the 6 principles of persuasion for wrong, and you can use them for good. And you should only be using these for good if you believe that your product, your service, actually can make a difference to the people that you're selling it to. If you're just selling any old crap to anybody, you're a con man or a con woman, you're a scammer. But if you're using persuasion to really show and convince people to take a step so that they get the value from what you've got to offer, it is ethical. And there is a fine line between what's persuasion and manipulation. And we need to stay on the right side of this. So the first principle is the principle of, and this is always a difficult one to say, reciprocity. And it is basically the principle that when you give, people feel obliged to give back. So when you offer value, people will appreciate that value, and it will help you build relationships, build trust, and people will want to reciprocate. So an example of this, and again this is Dr. Robert Cialdini's own research, was they found that when people gave a gift as they served the bill at the restaurant, people were more inclined to tip. And how they gave the gift. So for an example, they found that if people gave them, if the waiter or waitress gave them a sweet, they would get a tip. But if the waitress or waiter gave them 2 sweets, they would get an increased tip. And then they found that if the waiter or waitress gave that tip in a more meaningful way, more personalized, the tip was even bigger. So the principle of reciprocity really has to be built into what you're doing, whether it be in your marketing, giving value, demonstrating value, but not just giving it in kind of a mass market way, really going one step further and making it a personal thing really adds value and convince and persuades people, moves people along in that decision-making process to help them do business with you. The second one, and this is the one that's kind of most abused, is scarcity. So scarcity, there's lots of webinars you'll see where this offer is only available for the next 30 minutes and you have to buy now. That's scarcity. But what they're doing is they're selling something that's built artificial scarcity. So there's no reason why it could not be for the next 3 days. It's fake scarcity. But the reason why scarcity works is because there's a universal principle in life that if something's rare or limited, it will cost more. It's more valuable. We value things that cost something. We value things that are limited editions. So we have this ingrained into us that this is a limited. If something's limited, it's more exclusive, it's more valuable, it's more prestigious. So scarcity, both the fear of missing out, so if you miss out on something, but also the fear of losing out. So what happens if I don't do it? Will I not get something? And if I don't get it, if I don't do something, will I lose what I've already got? It's a heavily misused principle because it can be used by anybody to push people over a line because they're worried, fear of missing out and all that. Miss out. And artificial deadlines, but there are ways that you can create offers and products that are limited, like for example, DFS do a Blue Cross weekend sale. Why is that? Well, they're doing the sale to encourage people to buy now. So there might be a reasoning behind it. And scarcity is nothing new. It's been used for centuries. But if you don't build that in, sometimes people will not take action. They'll think it's a great idea, but it's just not right now. But using a little bit of scarcity can help you encourage people to make a decision. So what's our other one? Authority. So authority. Now, authority is not something that you can give yourself. People have to learn and feel and experience your authority. You can't just tell people you're an authority. You can't tell people you're an expert. They have to discover this about you. So you should have specific things that you're doing, specific things that you present to customers that show your authority. They can be things like testimonials, they can be things like recommendations, they can be awards, they can be introductions from people who can big you up. So you should be ensuring that you build authority into what you're doing. And you have to be not just authoritative in what you say, you have to be seriously believe what you say. You have to be able to back it up with social proof. You have to back it up with somebody who can stand behind you and say, this person is the real deal. And these things about authority really do matter when you're trying to share information to convince people to make a purchasing decision. So authority matters, and it matters just as much in the way you deliver it as the information you deliver. If you deliver something and don't believe it, people will read that, people will get that. So you have to believe 110% in what you're offering, and you have to believe 110% in yourself, and that you are the expert. Even if you shouldn't say it, you can believe it about yourself, that you do know what you're talking about. This is good for the customer. They will get value from it. You have to be able to believe what you're saying. There's lots of people who can use this. They can make up fake awards and all sorts of stuff. In fact, you can buy awards these days. I'm not advocating you do it, but people get that this is a thing, from social proof, from accreditations, from writing books. All of those things really do add to your persuasive ability. So now we come to the next principle, and these are really brilliant principles. Robert, what I'll do is I'll share the link to some of the information from Dr. Robert Cialdini that will help you kind of articulate this and stew over it and really build this out. Is the principle of consistency. So this is relatively straightforward, is that people want to be consistent in their decision making. So they want to follow through on what they have already done. So it's really important to make for people to make commitments in your sales process. And I call these micro commitments, little steps. In sales and cold calling, there's a principle where you have to get people to say yes and to agree with you on a phone call. So if I could save you money on your business, would you be interested? Yes. If I could show you how to double your revenue in the next 24 months as a business, would you give me an hour of your time? Yes. So what they do is they encourage people to make micro commitments, little steps, so that people can then feel that it's easier to make the next step. So instead of going from 0 to 1, you build in little steps of commitment so that people can be consistent with the decisions they've already made, or the statements they've already made. So it's really important that you use the power and the principle of consensus to help persuade people to make a decision to buy from you. So that's a really, really important factor in not just closing the sale, but very often, particularly in what I do, people make a decision and never see it through. And one of my frustrations is that people miss the potential of what they could achieve because they just don't see them through. And people want to do that. So if you can help people and persuade people to see through their decisions, and you have real value to impart to them, it's a no-brainer. Two more to go. So the next principle is the principle of likability, or being liked. People want to do business with people that they like, they get on with, they have a rapport with, they build relationships with. It isn't just a transactional thing. People want to have the conversations and interact and be relatable. They want to. How do people like? People like people who have similar interests, common values, common backgrounds. Relationships matter, and people will be persuaded more to work with somebody that they like or they agree with or get on with than somebody who's presenting hard facts and perhaps is more analytical. This is where it can help to really be yourself, because when you're yourself, you can build relationships with people for who you really are. You don't have to pretend to be somebody you're not, and you can build honest relationships with people, straight relationships. And they really do work. It's a little windy here today. So the principle of liking is that it can be used to build and grow the business if people get you and you get them, and it's you have a real kind of, not meeting of minds. You're not going on a date here or anything, but people get a feeling for who you are, what you're about, and you have common ground with them, and you're open and straightforward and honest. People love that. The other one is obviously complimenting people. People love to be complimented. So if you can help people and acknowledge some of the things that they've achieved, it will help persuade people to build a relationship with you. So these are not rocket science things, but when you start to think, how am I using this in my business to make a difference to my revenue, to my sales, to my marketing, it really does make that difference. And you know, the difference between success and failure in sales is not massive margins. It's little things that could be out of alignment. It's little things that could be holding you back, or helping people to not make a decision. You could be helping people not make a decision. And if you think about this as a race, the winner can get over the line and win with fractions of a second. It doesn't matter, to some degree, how much distance they were between a yes and a no. It's margins. You're looking at margins. Little tweaks can make a huge difference. So think about this in your own campaigns, your own stuff. What am I doing to persuade people through this? What am I doing to build I can never say it. What am I doing to build I can't even say it. I've struggled with that word for years. Reciprocity. What am I doing with reciprocity? What am I doing? Can I use scarcity as a way to persuade people to buy? Can I make some limited offers? Can I do something like that? How am I demonstrating my authority? Not just in terms of what I'm saying, but are people gaining an understanding of my authority, my expertise, by all the things I put round me, whether it be testimonials, referrals, all of those things that build up the expertise that you can demonstrate to people. Consistency. People love to be consistent with their previous decisions. They like to follow through. How are you working to build micro commitments towards you so that people can build on those smaller commitments into a decision to make a purchase, to buy from you? People buy into people. People buy from people. Finally, the principle of liking. People want to do business with people they get on with, they interact with, they feel they have some commonality with, some common ground, and people who they think are the real deal. So they're honest, and they get that feeling of honesty and transparency. So that's really, really important. And finally, it's consensus. So again, consensus is built on that whole consistency and liking, in that people generally follow what other people are doing. So again, this is where social proof comes into play, because social proof can demonstrate you know what you're talking about, but it can also show people that other people like them have made this choice. Other people have done this and it's been successful. So I don't like this. And one of the examples Dr. Robert Cialdini gives is when you put messages out there, how can you encourage people to go with the herd? People like to follow the herd. If this is what other people are doing, shouldn't we do it? And this is, if you've ever seen kind of panic buying, this is exactly how panic buying happens. It's herd mentality. And sometimes what happens is a few people do something and then other people see them and they do it because they're doing it. And they follow what other people are doing. And this is a persuasive, it's a principle of persuasion, negative and positive. That if people can see, if an accountant can see that other accountants are making this great choice, they will be more inclined to make that great choice. So for you, if you're trying to convince a particular group of people to do business with you, demonstrating that other people like them have made that choice successful, a successful choice like that will help them make the decision. So it is a bit of herd mentality. It is about showing people that this is what the majority have done, or this is what a lot of people have done. And you see this a lot on the website, is most popular. This is the most popular. This is trending with this group of people. And they do that to encourage you that this is the way you should go, because we like to follow the crowd. Not all the time, but a lot of the time we do like to follow the crowd. So they're the 6 scientifically backed, because Dr. Robert Cialdini did a lot of work with this, digging into how things work, studying how people behave, to show people that there are 6 fundamental laws of fundamental laws of persuasion, which are reciprocity, I said it right, scarcity, authority, it's windy here, consistency, likeness, likability and liking, and consensus. So if you want to ramp up your revenue, grow your business, you need to understand these and see how you can fit them in. Not all of them will be appropriate. Not all of them will work in every situation. But if you understand these principles and build them in, they can really help you convince your prospective customers that you are the right choice. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I will share the link to Dr. Robert Cialdini's own documents in here, because I think it's worth a read if you want to dig into it in more detail.